I kind of feel like I've been betrayed.
Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio, and today we are joined by the always awesome and vernacular Michael Naulls. Mike, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing all right. You know, I'm back for a podcast.
You're back.
For the second time.
For the second time, and slightly more tired, which I am as well.
Yeah, not sleeping will do that to you.
Yep, or the heat outside.
Well, the heat too.
The heat will do that.
Yes.
So today we are going to try to talk about, and that's something Mike and I have realized most of the times when we get together to do the podcast, we try to do it as a let's talk about, but for the most part we go on a lot of side tangents.
Lots of tangents.
What we're titling this is Let's Try to Talk About.
Yes.
And today we are going to try to talk about Star Wars. And the current state of it.
The current state of Star Wars.
And what's going on with it. What's up with what go on in with Disney and Disney Star Wars. And as much as I love Star Wars, and at times Star Wars fans, at other times fans can be the worst. So that's going to come up. Yeah, we're talking Star Wars, man. Hopefully it'll be fun. I'm finding it less fun to talk about than it used to be.
It's kind of getting worn out, isn't it?
Yeah. Or,
which is exactly what I feared. I think I said that in the last, or the first podcast that I was on when I came over here a few months ago.
With Christian and Tommy, yeah.
It's going to get worn out.
Yeah. Well, at the time, I remember we were talking, it's going to possibly lose what makes it special, because
we're getting one every year.
We're getting one every year, which has never been Star Wars' model.
No.
Screen Junkies, who I enjoy their channel a lot. A couple weeks ago, they were bringing up how, be it Kathleen Kennedy or the Disney overhead management or whoever, they're now treating Star Wars like it's almost any other franchise, where it's like we got to pump it out, we got to have it out, it's like we've got the license and the creative reign to do this, so let's go nuts, let's go bull in China shop on this. But that's never been Star Wars.
No.
Star Wars has been one every 3 years, and then a 16-year gap.
Which it's not necessary to have a 16-year gap.
Yeah, no. But it's never been that one a year, one every 2 years, or it's been one every 3, which is enough of a gap between movies already, and then a decent sized gap in between to kind of let it
cleanse the palate,
and absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yes. And it's not even like a Bond, where Bond has been consistently coming out for how many years now?
What year is it? 2018?
2018?
Is that 56 years?
Yeah. Where, Bond will take a 2-year... on average, I think when their studios aren't facing bankruptcy or legal rights or those issues, Bond generally comes out one every 2 years or something like that. But that's a different model. Star Wars isn't that. And be it what it with what's going on, the fan backlash to The Last Jedi is something I don't think anybody saw coming.
No.
When you saw the movie, you were like, okay, this isn't... Some people loved it. I was like, all right, I can respect the decisions, although I didn't enjoy it. And my issues with the current state of it are more have to do with the filming decisions, and not so much oh, it's just SJW wars now, or all this. It's become almost personal. The fandom's making it very toxic, and then they're the studio's pushing an agenda, but then they are too. And it's
R2.
And it's like, it's not what... It's becoming less fun. Where I even commented on 9gag recently where someone brought up Star Wars, and I'm just like, man, like, it's less fun to talk about. I used to love talking about it. You could have hours-long conversation where it would be fun, where it would be like, how would you make the prequels different? Because we did, like, you didn't like the prequels.
Yeah, did Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc?
Exactly. Did Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc and all that? And now it's very venomous. It's hard to get to the fun place that it was. And what kind of spurred on wanting to talk about it is, at this point, I think it was 2 weeks ago at Comic-Con, they announced that the Clone Wars, not cartoon, but the Clone Wars CGI show was coming back for a 7th season. I'm not sure how many episodes it is. If you know, please comment and let me know. I'd love to know. But that's something that, aside from its terrible movie intro and rough and shaky first season and second season, not like Next Generation rough and shaky first season, but still rough and shaky. Like, aside from that, Clone Wars became a universally loved property. Like, it had dark storytelling, it had amazing character development, it created amazing characters that added a lot to the lore. And if you wanted great examples of female protagonists, you could point, and antagonists, you could point to that show with Ahsoka Tano and
that other girl,
Asajj Ventress.
Oh yeah.
Asajj Ventress was created in the micro series Clone Wars cartoon, and she was an interesting character, and she was modeled off of an original idea for Darth Maul. But Clone Wars was so well developed, it got dark. It brought back Darth Maul, but added so much to his character, and it had some great storytelling. It was what Anakin Skywalker should have been in the movies, where you're like, wow, this is a great character who you can really see the balance between light and dark and his struggles with it. You can see him as this great hero, but you can also see him like really struggling with like just giving in and wasting younglings. So people were so happy. Like, the internet rejoiced. It was a happy moment, which was refreshing for Star Wars, because, again, especially after The Last Jedi, it's like Solo. And I'll admit myself, like, I was down on Solo before it came out because of the marketing, because the marketing was awful.
Yeah.
But then when I saw the movie, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It won me over.
It was an enjoyable movie. I didn't even want to see it. Like,
yeah, I
heard they're making a Solo movie. I'm like, why? I don't want to see that. And I saw it because I didn't have anything else to do. So that was an all right ride. It was.
I liked so much. I went in with low expectations. I'm like, all right, everything I've seen from this is making me think I'm going to hate it.
Yeah,
like it's going to be bad. And not even because, like, so many people online were like, well, The Last Jedi sucked, so this sucked. This is going to suck.
It must suck.
And it's like, no, they're two different movies made by different people. And when you look at the circumstances around that movie, like, Ron Howard did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Of, like, pulling that...
Basically reshooting a movie in a couple months.
And that's part of the problem, I think, of Disney Star Wars, and we can get into that in a minute. But to give Solo credit where it's due, I can't remember the actor's name.
Alden Ehrenreich? You mean Solo?
Yeah, he did so much better than the marketing and all the rumors said he would, because it was like they're bringing in an acting coach for him because he can't nail. But there was points where I'm like, you're doing a forward pose, not even an imitation. Like, you've got this. Like, you are channeling, like, his take on the character. And he brought in some of his own take, and there was some fun twists and turns. I liked how isolated it was.
Yeah.
There were some hokey moments, like how he got his name. And I know some people didn't like how the Imperial March was used as the music in the background.
Yeah.
But that... I'm like, all right, it's kind of dumb, but I appreciated it, where I'm like, all right. It got me to laugh. It got me entertained.
Chuckled, yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I can roll with it. I know a lot of people hated the L3 droid, where they're like, they're the one, she's pushing the agenda.
Sexy robot.
She's the SJW, like droid rights and all that. I'm like, to me, I thought she was kind of mocking that kind of thing a bit, like not outright mocking it, but being like, let's take it to an extreme and kind of a caricature of that. I found in that view, I found that droid funny. Like Donald Glover did a really good job.
He did a good Lando impression.
Yeah, people hyped him up so much where I'm like,
yeah, for sure.
I was like, no, it was good. It wasn't show stealing for me.
No,
I'd like to see more.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be more Lando.
Yeah, and people made such a huge deal, like Lando's pansexual and he's in love with this droid. Where I'm like, okay, it's one of those things that's kind of there, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're really looking for it, could it just
but
be
it's not
like,
in your face about it?
No, and it's like, could it also just be he's got a really, like, Luke would be devastated if R2 died.
Yeah.
That wouldn't mean Luke was in love with R2.
Right.
So I don't know. But on the whole, I enjoyed Solo. Mm-hmm. But it didn't make its money back. No. It's the only Star Wars movie that it didn't flop, but it underperformed.
Yeah, it underperformed, man.
And that's gotten to some interesting things, and so I think the fandom has gotten very, very bad, and we'll talk about that now. Mike, I've been talking for like 5 minutes. Please share something.
Please say something. You're just sitting there. I don't even know if you're alive. You're eating pretzels and staring at the placemats.
We are still not sponsored, but
we're working on it. Yeah,
we're working on it.
I will, even if Kashi wants to sponsor us, we'll eat healthier things. I love healthy stuff. It makes me healthy. So what can I say about Star Wars fandom? Is you were saying how it's changed. It's toxic now, where like. Star Wars fans are clearly the worst fans because they hate the property that they're fans of. I'm going to say we, because I'm a fan. We can never be pleased. We want a movie exactly like we want, and then when we get a movie that we want, well, why didn't they take any chances? Why didn't they do this differently? This is exactly what I expected. So they do something different. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh, well, can't be pleased. Yeah. And then it's just it's gotten toxic. It's those it's a select group of toxic fans that have poisoned everything. It's not all of them. Yeah, we're not like that, obviously. No, and I know a number of fans who aren't, but they're not the loudest. It's who's the loudest, exactly. It's a funny fandom. I remember there's been many stages. I remember, I don't know how many years ago, not a long time ago, let's say 10 years tops, you had said that you remember when it was okay to be a Star Wars fan. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was more than 10 years ago now. Like, there was a time where you could be a Star Wars fan, and you weren't cool, but you weren't like, it wasn't, you're a Star Wars fan. You could talk about Star Wars and it'd be alright. But then the prequels rolled around, and suddenly being a Star Wars fan is, oh, you like those movies? No, I'm not talking about 1 to 3. Yeah. I'm talking about the good ones. Yeah. And then, I guess after The Force Awakens, I felt like it came back. Like, even at myself, after the prequels, I didn't really care about Star Wars for a long time. And then once I remember it was as soon as I saw the trailer for Force Awakens, it all came back. Because there were so many questions I had about where Star Wars was now. Like, the Empire's back. It's not the First Order, but whatever you would call it, it's still the Empire, really. Yeah, no. Yeah. Same idea. And I was excited to be a Star Wars fan again. I could talk about these things. There was so much to talk about. And the way The Force Awakens ended, with Luke on that hill and all that, and I was just like, what happens next? I have to know right now.
There was a palpable excitement again.
Yes, it was exciting, exactly. And then The Last Jedi kind of killed it. I remember before Last Jedi, knowing what Rian Johnson had done in the past, and I knew in my bones this guy was going to make a great movie. He was going to kill it. I kept saying he's going to kill it in the good way, but he killed it in the bad way. I kind of feel like I've been betrayed.
Yeah.
It just feels like, it doesn't feel like I've been betrayed. It just feels like a shame. Like he made a mistake. But he knows what he did.
And to him, though, like, he online can at point get antagonistic about it. Now, like, I can understand that because you've got people going at him in ridiculous, harsh ways, where it's like, you ruined this. You're terrible. You're an awful person. Like, you ruined Star Wars. Where it's like, you can have an opinion. Just say it kindly. Where when I first watched The Last Jedi, that's the one that made me realize a couple things about the main trilogy anyway. Like, weirdly enough, the stuff I'm more excited about with Star Wars right now is the
anthology films.
The anthology films. Because Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars movies I've ever seen. It's tremendous. Yeah. Especially its second half.
Yeah, even if you're just remembering it for the second half.
Like the first half is solid, but there's a lot of planet jumping, it's a lot of this and that.
There was a lot of planet jumping.
It doesn't gain its momentum quite yet. But then once they set off from Yavin, and they're on, is it Jeddah?
They did go to Jeddah.
Yeah, that's the first planet, the Death Star.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember what that one was, but
they were on Jeddah. They were on. I don't remember the movie now.
Sorry, listener. Luna is up and about and attacking us for attention.
Yes, and I think you just put your nose in my water. The planet with the factory. With the
kyber crystals and the temple.
That's Jeddah.
Yeah.
Once they start going on there, then
it gains its focus, and I definitely think like once the Death Star fires and Saul Guerrera is out of the picture, because I just didn't care for the characterization.
He was just I don't know. I guess you can explain it. There's the gap between Clone Wars or even Rebels, and no, that doesn't make sense either. He's so much more outrageous. Outrageous isn't the word, but let's just use that. In Rogue One, like he's shown in the Rebels show, and he's not crazy like that. No. So something happened.
Yeah.
But there's not that big of a gap. Well, I guess there is. There's enough of a gap.
Yeah. Well, Rebels, I think, is like within 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Before A New Hope, and Rogue One ends 5 minutes before A New Hope.
Yeah.
To the point where I think definitely someone somewhere has made a cut where they
spliced
the movies together.
There is. I know there is.
Yeah, and I'll watch it.
Yeah.
It would be, and Rogue One is out of any Star Wars movie that's come out since 1983.
Yeah.
It is, in my estimation, the best Star Wars movie that's come out. And it was it was wonderful. You can definitely argue that it had some writing issues where Jin was like, I'm a rebel, I rebel, but I'll literally go along with everything.
I will go along with everything you tell me to do.
Everything you tell me to do. And that's just a little bit of some of the writing issues. I know some people have an issue with how Rey is written, but I find her to be a better written protagonist than Jin. But both actresses did great performances and made them interesting characters, even if the writing and the rest of the movie, in Rey's case, underserved that. But Rogue One was so solid. That's the one where I'm like, if you're that's the one that gives me the most hope for Star Wars, because I'm like, that was great. Solo was fun.
Yeah, so it was fun. Sure, yeah.
I'm on board for the Solo movies, not more Han Solo movies.
The individual movies.
Although, if you give me Darth Maul on the big screen again, then yes, give it to me. Sign me up.
You know what I liked about the Solo movie is that it wasn't. I was under the assumption that it was just going to be like an individual movie. Maybe they'll try to make it into 3 movies, but it was. And I may not be right about this at all, but it sure seems the way that it was the start of a anthology trilogy with Solo, Obi-Wan, and Boba Fett. Those 3 movies being their own trilogy with focusing on different characters in each one, but there's still a common thread in the Crimson Dawn. So Maul would show up. I guess Obi-Wan would be the last movie. The next one would be Boba Fett, but then they've canceled them now. And
with Maul, it would have been interesting because it would have posed a difficult thing. Because in Rebels, they just brought back Maul, which was very interesting. Like Rebels, I've only seen certain episodes. I just didn't care for the animation. Yeah, that was my biggest hurdle to get over. Yeah, but the episodes that I could force myself to watch, I was like, okay, once. I just had a difficult time getting past the animation, but it's like it was good stuff. Yeah. And that season 2 finale where they were in the Sith temple.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then Darth Vader shows up and squares off with Ahsoka, which was awesome. Yeah. And then Maul is there, and there's a slight tease of possibly Maul versus Vader, but also Maul being an interesting, compelling character in his old age. Like I know some people had issue with Maul coming back in Clone Wars and in Rebels because they're like, he was just such this silent, majestic, amazing warrior, and now he's talking so much. But they had to do something with him. As much as I love the Phantom Menace take on Maul, once they cast him aside like that, you can't go back to that. You can't do that's a great character to watch, but that's not necessarily a compelling character that you can derive story out of. Right. And what they did with him, you could derive story. And Sam Witwer did a great performance, a great vocal performance. But then in Rebels, in season 4 or 5, they had him...
They only did 4.
Okay, yeah. In season 4, they had him meet up with Obi-Wan on Tatooine, and Obi-Wan killed him within 2 moves. Yeah. Because it's essentially Maul couldn't let go of his hatred. Yep. And Obi-Wan was Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He'd been practicing.
He had been practicing. He had been ready. He was the greatest master of the Defender style, which I think was called Sorsu, but I don't know if those are canon anymore. Okay.
You don't know what's canon anymore.
He was ready. So I love the idea of Maul on the big screen, and I want more of it. But at the same point, they're like, okay, you've got to choose your timing now because we know how this character ends. There's a point where and they explained what happened between him being like taken prisoner by Sidious in Clone Wars season 5, and they did a comic because at that time it was Disney canceled Clone Wars. Yeah. So they did the comic showing how he escaped and then how everything happened and what happened to Mother Talzin and all that, where it's like Maul fled and he's like, I can't attack them, I need to go into hiding. And then how he started becoming this criminal underworld mastermind, which they hinted at in Clone Wars. Oh, okay. So it's like, I don't know how they do it where they're not rejigging the canon, where it's like, okay, well, even though we just did it in the show and we said it's this, we gotta Sorry, I went down a Darth Maul tunnel.
No, I don't even know how to respond to any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of canon, is there any way that we can redo Last Jedi? You know, I remember when I saw The Phantom Menace and I came home and my mom knew I was excited and she said, so how was it? And I just said something was wrong with that movie. I didn't know what it was. I just knew it wasn't right. And I felt the same way when Last Jedi ended. They're just like, something's wrong there. We didn't get anything we wanted. And now everything's totally different, but not in a good way.
Well, it's interesting. Just because people used to be like, if you're going to remake anything, remake the prequels. But what you find online, outside of like r/prequel memes, is there's an audience that loves the prequels.
Oh yeah.
Not even like the fan edits that make the movies better. They love it as it is. Yeah. They love the theatrical editions. They think to them that's Star Wars. Where I'm like that. As a fan and lover of the original trilogy, I'm like, no.
Well, you know, I'm finding more and more, and many people have helped with this, Rian Johnson included, is that the prequels weren't so bad. They were poorly executed, but the story was very interesting.
Yeah, that kind of actually is a beef I have with the current trilogy, where the prequels, for all their flawed execution and at points hammy acting,
at points, yeah, at points good acting,
and at rare points good acting. Thank you, Ewan McGregor, for saving. Yeah. But just to clarify the laugh, Mike has lied down because we're recording.
I'm doing my Goldblum. My shirt's gonna bust open soon. I actually will, because I have a loose button here. But anyway.
At least, but throughout. With all their flaws and everything, the prequels were a planned trilogy. It was one cohesive story.
Yeah.
This sequel trilogy is not.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand, you know? I'm going to sit up and explain this. I don't understand. The prequels, I had Lucas, and he had a writing partner for 2 and 3. But anyway, just call it Lucas, just writing a story. He didn't have... he didn't really have help. I think like Lucas did the story and the other guy helped writing the script, making dialogue and everything just work.
He needed better help.
Yeah, I needed better help. I think you went for the lowest common lowest bidder. Where with the way it is now, Lucasfilm has a story team. They have a group of people sitting around a table larger than this. It's a good sized table for you listeners. Sitting around a table, deciding on every little detail of canon. And someone could have stood up when they saw The Last Jedi script and said, this doesn't work. What does everyone else think? You're telling me a team of people could not have made a better story. That's the problem right now. Somehow, quality control is not there.
Yeah. And... so the major beef I have with the current trilogy is that it's not a trilogy where it's like you're making it up. They're making it up as they go.
Well, yeah, it was my understanding or assumption, I guess, that they had written out JJ and maybe others, maybe Pablo Hidalgo, the Grand Master of Star Wars canon. They had sat down and made a 7, 8, and 9 story arc. And then they would just write the scripts from that story. Just the way Lucas made a 4, 5, and 6 or a 1, 2, and 3 story arc. Mm-hmm. So he knew where he was and where he was going. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem they've adhered to that or even had it in the first place.
Well,
for 7, 8, and 9.
There's no way that the decisions that Rian Johnson made, where it's like, we're going to cast aside, say like Rey's parents don't matter, and we're going to say that Snoke doesn't matter at all. Yeah, that's not the setup that was there.
No, that's the problem with it. Is that there's so many things. Yeah,
and so the other one of the other major beefs I have is because this isn't mapped out. Even though some of the players have changed and kind of ranked up. Yeah. Like, to me, there hasn't really been anything gained. There hasn't been any significant
It hasn't gone
change.
Anywhere.
We're at the 3rd movie now, and what from The Force Awakens has actually changed. Where it's, okay, the Empire, because it's the Empire. Yeah. And the Rebellion, because it's the Rebellion. They're still fighting each other. Some people have died. Yeah. But it's, okay, Rey is now more of a Jedi and Kylo Ren is now solo running the thing. But outside of like 2 things that they said don't necessarily matter and aren't even that key, like what has actually changed? In the original trilogy, You had the underdog rebellion beat the destroy the Death Star. Yay! Start of Empire. They got the crap kicked out of them, and they were way worse off than before. Yeah. And then Jedi, it was this Hail Mary last ditch effort to win, and they did. There was a continuous story. You could track it. Whereas this, it's like, okay, they haven't even necessarily traded big victories or big losses. It's like we recreated A New Hope, but then we riffed off of Empire and Jedi, but not even the
good parts.
Not even the huge parts where it's like we've tracked where it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you slowly went through space and lost your some ships and your lower, but it's not even like this huge thing. So like, where are we?
And what happened to Luke? He's been doing something. He's been doing stuff for 30 years. And don't tell me read the comics and play that Battleground 2 game to tell me. I don't want that. You tell me in the movie what Luke's been up to.
And that's the difficulty thing, where it's like, yes, I love that your books and your comics are connected. I love it when stuff is connected. I love the old expanded universe stuff because, yes, some of it was terrible. Some of it was awesome.
Yeah.
But it was the idea of this is all an interconnected story.
Yeah.
Where it's all there, but it's based off of stuff you saw in the films. You didn't have to go do your homework before seeing a movie.
Right, right.
With certain times, that's acceptable. Like, with Infinity War, I wouldn't tell anybody, yeah, you've seen 5 Marvel movies, go in it. Be like, no, at least watch a couple summation videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch 18 previous movies fully. Just get the clip notes.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like, oh, no, it's answered in the comic where it's like,
no.
The comic can expand on the story, but this is the film's job.
Mm-hmm.
You are releasing to a wide audience. You should be telling us what's gone on. Heck, they didn't even do that with how we got back to square one in The Force Awakens.
Some guy had written out a better opening crawl for Force Awakens that explains the last 30 years, this has happened. It wasn't a long, tedious essay to read. It was concise, but it told us what happened in the past 30 years and what the situation is now. However, the opening line of the actual crawl for Force Awakens is fantastic. Luke Skywalker has vanished.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's a great pickup line.
Go from there.
The hero is gone?
Yeah. Because the whole thing, what's Luke been doing? He's vanished. Oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah. Tell me more. Show me more. But instead, we didn't see him for the whole movie until the end, and then he doesn't say anything, which is a great cliffhanger.
It is.
And then he starts off the next movie just chucking away all our hopes and dreams.
Yeah. And I know the Luke depiction was very divisive for people.
Yeah.
For me, it was more so like they decided to kill him off. I can kind of understand it, but I didn't like it.
I didn't like that. I said, the guy at work kept telling me they're going to kill Luke. They killed Han in the first one, they're going to kill Luke in this one. And I kept saying, you can't kill Luke Skywalker because he's Luke Skywalker. If you're going to kill him, it has to really mean something, and it has to be in like the third one. You can't just drift off into the sunset.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice, it's beautiful. He goes the way he started, in a way, right?
Yeah.
But no, he has to do something.
And
you know?
I get it that it was all symbolic and everything, but to me, it's like, I loved Mark Hamill's performance, and I'm like, all right, we're at like curmudgeon-y old grumpy Luke. Like, I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
And his performance was great, and the story was fine, but then I'm like, you briefly get back to that point where he is Luke Skywalker again.
Yeah.
Like, the Luke that we left off at. I was like, great. There's more trajectory to do with this now because we can tell the story of how he's overcome this and what he's going to do. Because he probably feels a lot of responsibility for what happened, for what the First Order has done. Hector Murray on Faith and Fandom, he did a sermon based off of The Last Jedi somewhat recently, where it's like how our decisions can haunt us and how if we choose to hide from our problems, that can make things worse. And it was like Luke tried to, in a moment of bad judgment, tried to kill like young Ben Solo.
He thought about it.
He thought about it.
For a
and then because of that was the point that pushed Ben to becoming Kylo Ren. But then instead of trying to stop him before things got worse, Luke went and fled. fled.
Yeah.
And then the Knights of Ren were there, and then the galaxy got blah blah blah. This is all stuff you can read that should have been shown in the film.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story, and him coming back to the point where he is Luke Skywalker, the Optimist, the guy who will toss away his lightsaber against one of the greatest. I'll say one of the greatest villains in film, because the Emperor is crazy and interesting as like this master magician, not
master magician,
like this master strategist and all that, who like will be willing to lay down his life for his father in the hope that it'll turn his father good again.
Yeah,
like he's back at that point. There's a lot you can do with that, where he's like, I've got to atone, I've got to do this, I've got to, and then it's like, well, we're going to have him symbolically do some of these things, and then he'll just peace out away.
I was hoping for this Luke that was totally wrecked, you know?
Yeah.
Just this guilty, sad Luke that, no, I can't be a Jedi again. I can't restart the Order. I can't train you. Just really down, like, and you feel for Luke, because you know that he made a mistake, and you know he regrets it, but by the end he does what he needs to do, and he becomes Luke Skywalker again, and does not fade away.
Yeah.
If he's going to die, it has to be. I mean, it was for a reason. He distracted Kylo, and the rebels were able to escape. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
No.
I think there was more mileage out of that character. And
oh, for sure. Well, he'll come back as a ghost. He has to come back as a ghost.
They recently announced that Billy D. Williams will be in Episode 9 as Lando.
Yeah.
My buddy Brad Halsey texted that to me, and my response was like, I don't know if I want this. Because if you're just going to waste Lando to have another classic character die, like, don't do it. Just don't bother. Like, if the character's going to be in it, have it be meaningful, have it be true to the character. I mean, there's some stuff that's happened, like Carrie Fisher's unfortunate passing.
Yeah.
They've had to course correct a bit, where now it's like, okay, Episode 9 is going to take place years later.
Yeah.
So they can allow for Princess Leia to have died.
Mm-hmm.
So that's outside of their control. But I think the nail we're hitting on the head here is, like, if they're going to do trilogies and keep doing this, they need to plan this out properly and have a story.
They need to have the story group that actually does their job.
Yeah, because while the sequel films are better shot and acted than the prequel films, like, the prequel films are much more cohesive. They actually like, they tell a story, it gains ground, and that's where I'm like, I didn't think I'd ever be at the point where I'm complimenting the Star Wars prequels over anything except for maybe The Hobbit, as we've talked about. Like, and that's where we are. So, Mike, what are you hoping for out of as Star Wars goes on?
I'm hoping that they sit down and really look at what they have and what they're doing and what their plan is. I'm hoping that the canceled solo or anthology films are not canceled much longer, as fans have been begging for an Obi-Wan solo film, and I guess begging for a Boba Fett film for even longer, but more so an Obi-Wan film.
Sorry guys, Luna is being desperate for attention. Give me 1 sec.
I got it.
Alright, Mike's got it.
I got it. Aha, sneak attack. I hope that the story group sits down and actually well, it's kind of to my first point. They figure out where they're going. The story group sits down and says, well, this is where we are, what we've done. How can we fix this? Or how can we go in a direction that will please... I mean, I understand not wanting to spoon feed fans exactly what they want, because fans don't want that.
Yeah.
But find a balance between doing something new, driving the story forward, and giving fans a little bit of what they've been looking for. Like, Rogue One did that. It gave us something new, but we also got Darth Vader in the end. Totally whooping.
Which is one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Like, that was fan service, but fan service done right.
Oh, yeah. For sure. For sure.
Because we all wanted, like, insane Vader.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem difficult to take Star Wars in a direction that will please fans. Just, I don't know, take your time.
Yeah.
You don't have to give us something new every year. There's plenty of property or plenty of media that they're putting Star Wars stuff in. There's going to be a new animated series. Clone Wars is coming back. There's comics, there's books, there's video games. Just do it right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Not everyone, but some people say that Marvel's doing it right while Lucasfilm is falling apart. I don't know. Let's see but Marvel's a different beast altogether.
It's been their status quo to have one or multiple movies a year.
Yeah, but they're doing something right. So maybe take a peek. They got to be in the same building, or their offices have got to be nearby.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say overall, just take some time to do it right.
Yeah. My main hope is that they'll like do the stuff that you said, where it's like take some time. In my opinion, we should be slowing down the output of movies, and I'm not saying just don't do them for 16 years, but it doesn't need to be one a year. Like even have it one every 2 years. And then if you're going to be like, well, we're going to keep doing like trilogies, it's like, okay, if you can figure out a way to do that, sure. But then maybe take a 3-year break between one trilogy and the next, and during that time, you pop out, toss in the anthology movie. So then over a decade, you're looking at maybe 5 Star Wars movies instead of 10.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Star Wars is that model. The main hope I'd have is that the fandom kind of chill the heck out a bit.
Yeah.
I know.
Just in general, just cool down, man.
I know we kind of talked about it a little bit in the last podcast, where I mentioned like look at what the fans have done with Kelly Marie Tran. Also look at I mentioned look at what they did with George Lucas, where some people will, and I know you said Lucas brought him out on himself, and I'll say yes to an extent, but when you see interviews with him,
he's a defeated man.
He is so done, and it's just kind of yes, he made a lot of bad decisions as a writer and as a director, but I think there's a way where you can try to talk to him about that or address your concerns, but not in an accusatory you ruined my childhood. You ruined everything. That's
a little extreme.
Where it's you're a bad person. Yeah. Where it's at that point he's why would I want to make another one when people are all I get is people coming up and telling me what a terrible human being I am.
Yeah.
Where that's an extreme. It shouldn't get there.
He didn't bring that on himself.
Look, he did not. Yeah, no, he did not bring that on himself. Where that's not constructive. That's not respectful to, even though you disagree with his decisions. The man put a lot of his life into this, and it went in directions that not all fans wanted. But that doesn't mean he was doing it maliciously. We have this funny image of George Lucas in a hot tub of gravy smoking a $100 cigar, $100 bill cigar. But that's Mike and I, when we bring that up, that's out of a joke and love and caricature. We know the human being is not like that in doing that.
Yeah.
So, and also look at what people did to Jake Lloyd. That's awful.
That people, man is ruined. That boy and the man
ruined that boy's life because of Anakin Skywalker. And yes, the writing for it was bad, and the portrayal was child actor and all that. But that doesn't mean you ruin a person's life.
Yeah.
Kelly Marie Tran, I don't know her as an individual, but out of interviews and stuff I've seen with her, it's she seems like a lovely person. So why is she getting vehemently attacked for being excited about doing her job?
Yeah. And
playing a role.
Right on.
Chill the heck out. Redirect. Let's redirect the anger. If you can, goes back to the whole thing. If you can't say something nice, don't say it at all.
Yes.
If you can't make your point politely and constructively, pause until you can.
Mm-hmm.
Again, treat each other as you'd like to be treated. And I
Yes.
doubt anybody who's treating Lucas, Kelly Marie Tran, the actress who
Hayden
played
Christensen.
Laura Dern, who played Holdo, where I have my issues with that character, but people like attack that character and that actress and Kathleen Kennedy so aggressively, where it's like, look, you would not like to be treated this way, so why are you treating others this way?
Right.
So I'd hope the fandom will calm down a bit, where it's like, yes, we love Star Wars, it holds a special place in our hearts and all of that, but at the end of the day, it's a great story, but it's a form of entertainment. It's not life or death, and it also comes out of people just doing their jobs. Like, they're not being like, yeah, sure, let's do this to antagonize people. Some directors at times do that just for fun, but I don't think that's the case with Rian Johnson or the Last Jedi in particular. But I personally hope people will calm down. My joke used to be, Star Trek fans, Trekkies, are the most fickle fans, and a divided fan base. And I'm a Star Trek fan, so I say this in love, where it's like any new thing come out, well, it's like it's not as good as what was. It's not this. And yes, I think Discovery sucks. I'm just not a fan. But that doesn't mean you take it out on the actress who's doing a great job or anybody like that. The makeup for the Klingons makes no sense, and stuff does not make sense. But that's not those people's fault. That's the writers. And yeah, like, let's tone down the toxicity. It's like stuff where people are vehemently protesting stuff in real life, where it's like, let's take the outrage culture going on in real life and apply that to all our fandoms. And let's all, for a lot of things, calm down a bit. But
let's all just get along.
But especially for Star Wars and fandoms and stuff, let's not bully people and make men and women defeated, where they have to quit social media or their lives are ruined and they can't go to any fan conventions because they'll get ripped on for their performances, or like to the point where it's like, well, why would I ever want to do this because I'm told I'm a terrible human being. Yeah. And hopefully we'll get some more good movies out. Storyline wise, I'd love it if we got like a Knights of the Old Republic era thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because that's so far away from everything else that you could do it without it at all impacting. Or, did you ever see the Legacy comics?
I mean, did I ever read them?
Yeah. Or were you aware of the story?
No.
So it wouldn't be canon now, unless they could find a way to
They could stick it back in.
They could find a way to explain it, but that was something that was like 130 or something years later, and it was a descendant of Luke Skywalker, but it was like, his name was Caden.
Oh, okay.
Because Star Wars is cyclical. The Sith re-arose, the Empire took over, the Rebellion and the Jedi were defeated, blah, blah, blah. But Cade ended up renouncing his Jedi ways, became a bounty hunter who would turn in other Jedi, was addicted to death sticks. Like, his character was like a Skywalker gone very bad, like in a very dark place, because his father died saving him and all this tragic stuff had happened. And there was some really interesting and cool stuff. But again, it's far enough removed from the current canon that unless you were like including Alderaan and places that had been blown up, it could be Star Wars but isolated to its own thing.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. It's something that's not anything we've seen before. Something we're not familiar with. Something 100, 500, 1,000 years in the past or future would be very interesting, but I don't think we're ready for that yet.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really established what the future is yet, the immediate future.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be good. It'd be in the Star Wars universe, following its laws, let's say, but not anything we're familiar with. Something we can be fresh and not, hopefully, not judge as much.
Yes.
But come on.
Or if we have issues that we're talking about, much calmer, I guess.
Maybe, possibly.
I want it to be fun again.
Oh yeah.
That's the.
I want to be able to discuss things again and not be. I want to discuss without disgust.
Yeah. Discuss with that. Or I want it to be like, I'd love it to be able to be like, for someone who's like, I enjoyed The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like them to be able to say it without that person then getting flamed and
Without
attacked ridiculously.
being pitchforked.
Exactly, where it's like, I disagree for X, Y, and Z. Like, why do you? What did you see in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not, oh, you're wrong.
You're wrong, and you're what's wrong with the world, and you're what's wrong with
You're
Star
just a
Wars,
social justice warrior.
and fire Kathleen Kennedy and all that.
Where's a Mary Sue?
Yeah. Where it's, there's writing issues. There was writing issues with the original trilogy as well, but...
Yeah, you think there's not cheesiness in the originals?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think we're going in circles
We
could go on for a long time.
We're circular, like Star Wars stories.
Like a circle, yeah.
All right, well, dear listener, I hope you enjoyed. What did you think? Let us know in the comments what do you hope for out of a Star Wars, the Star Wars franchise going forward. Did you have some of the issues that we do? Yeah, let us know in the comments. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. If you do get the chance, we do have some merch on our Redbubble store. We've got shirts, tote bags, coffee mugs. I'd say you name it, but weirdly, Redbubble doesn't do hats, so there are no hats. But there's clocks, there's phone cases,
but no hats.
There's a lot of really cool stuff. I'll attach the link below. Please check it out. Some of that money does come to us, and that goes towards getting new equipment, being able to travel to meet up with people, to do the podcast in person instead of over Skype. Goes towards website expenses. All that. If you can, please do. But if not, we're not holding it against you.
Uh-huh.
But hopefully there's some stuff there you'll like. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care. Thanks for listening. And God bless, my friends. Peace.